Okay, good morning everyone and welcome. As it is now 10 o'clock, I shall open the hearings part of this examination of the York local plan. First of all, can everyone hear me well enough? Okay, very good, thank you. Can I remind you please that if you do have a mobile phone or other electronic gizmo, a Game Boy or something like that with you, please make sure that it's switched off while the hearing's in session. And if you haven't already done so, please can you make sure that you sign today's attendance sheet before you leave. If we do have any members of the press present, please can you sign the same sheet, but do make it clear which media outlet you represent. Could I ask, first of all, someone from the council side to advise us what we should do in the event of a fire or indeed other emergency? Which way should we run? Mr. Slater is going to deal with that. Sorry? Mr. Slater will tell you. Good morning. Thank you.
Yeah, housekeeping, you mentioned signing in video. The sessions, the hearings are being filmed using the tripod-mounted video camera. Please ensure that you have seen and signed in the waiver form at the signing-in desk downstairs to give consent to be filmed. If anybody objects to being filmed, please contact the programme officer ASAP. The format of the day will be split into morning and afternoon sessions, with convenient mid-morning and mid-afternoon breaks. There will be a lunch break at a suitable time during a convenient break in proceedings. Refreshments will be available to purchase in the alcove bar area on the ground floor. Please note the York Racecourse has specifically asked that only refreshments purchased at the venue can be consumed on the premises. Toilet facilities, ladies and gents toilets are on the ground floor, near to the main entrance, the gents to the left and the ladies to the right as you enter the building. Finally, from me, fire alarm. There are no scheduled alarm practices during the examination hearings. If the alarm does go off, please exit the hearing room by the main exit and designated fire exits. Go down the stairs, out of the main door of the gym building, make your way through the entrance building to the rendezvous point under the footbridge on the road outside the venue. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So as I understand it then, participants do need to sign a, as you say, a waiver form agreeing to being videoed. Aside from me, is there anyone else that hasn't signed that? Are we all comfortable with our proceedings being recorded? Okay, very good. I'm Simon Barclay, and to my right is my colleague Andrew McCormack. We are both planning inspectors and chartered town planners, and we have been appointed by the Secretary of State under Section 20 of the Planning and Compulsory Purchase Act to hold this examination into the soundness of the local plan and to produce a report of our conclusions and recommendations on any actions or changes needed in relation to soundness. Specifically, then, our role is to assess whether the plan satisfies the requirements of the 2004 Act, the relevant regulations relating to the preparation of the document, and whether it is sound. In order to be sound, the plan, lest anyone should forget, it should be positively prepared, justified, effective and consistent with national policy as defined in the National Planning Policy Framework, the NPPF. Carol Crooks is our programme officer. In fact, she's presently stood over there guarding the door. She's an independent officer of the examination. She works under our guidance, undertaking the administration of the examination and, in effect, acts as a conduit for communication but between us and all other participants. And she generally works very hard, frankly, to make sure that the examination runs as smoothly as it possibly can. So if you do have anything to raise with us, then we would ask that you please go and speak to Mrs. Crooks. A few things that we just need to make sure that everyone is absolutely clear about. And I mentioned just now the NPPF. New national policy has been published since the plan was submitted in the form of the NPPF of February 2019. That new national policy sets out transitional arrangements for local plans submitted before the 25th of January of this year, and those arrangements apply here. So in short, what that means is that the policies of the 2012 MPPF are those that apply for the purpose of this examination. Should it be that anyone happens to mention MPPF during our discussions, which I suspect they just might, we will assume if you say MPPF or national policy, our assumption will be that you are talking about the 2012 NPPF. If you do mean something different, then please be absolutely clear about that. Also changes proposed by the council to the local plan. What we're examining here is the local plan as it was originally submitted. That is the document that we're testing in terms of legal compliance and soundness. Now, the council has put forward a number of modifications to the plan, and they were consulted on in June and July of this year, alongside various pieces of additional work that the council has undertaken. Now, for the avoidance of any doubt, these modifications are modifications proposed by the council. They aren't, presently at least, endorsed or supported by us in any way. So we will consider each of the changes that the council has proposed through the hearing sessions as the discussion goes along. Should the council, well, any further changes proposed by the council or anyone else should only be advanced if necessary to make the plan sound. The council is free to make minor changes to the plan as it wishes, so we don't need to consider any minor issues. Our examination is focused entirely on soundness, and our reports will only specify any changes needed to make the local plan sound. Should it be that we decide that main modifications are necessary, and if any modifications put forward should prejudice any party who would be denied a fair opportunity to comment, then it would be necessary to carry out further consultation before the local plan could be modified, and sustainability appraisal may well also be needed. As the hearings progress, can we ask the council to keep a running schedule of any changes it proposes, supports or has no objections to. And if we can ask that that schedule shows additions in bold, deletions in strike through, the usual sort of format. If you could do that, I would be grateful. And we may or may not accept those changes. Just one or two things then about the hearing sessions. This is phase one of the hearings. Following the phase one hearings, if we consider that the plan is legally compliant and that there is a reasonable chance that it could be found sound in relation to the phase one matters discussed, then the hearings will then move on to phase two. Yes, it's likely that phase two hearings would cover everything else. That's our intention at present, but we shall see how we go. But it's not presently our intention to break down hearings any further. So in our minds currently is that phase two would cover everything else not discussed as part of phase one. But it depends. I should probably mention sites. We're not focusing currently through the phase one hearings on the question of sites, that's sites proposed for allocation or sites not proposed for allocation. The phase one is very much a kind of strategic discussion about fairly high-level matters and issues. So please, whilst I know that some of you may well have a particular keenness for one site or another, please, we won't be going very far down that road. And just a heads up, when we come to discussing sites as part of phase two hearings, the discussion then will focus on sites that are proposed in the plan rather than sites that aren't. So we won't be, in the first instance at least, having discussion about sites that aren't, that is omission sites, sites that aren't in the plan. And the reason for that is, well, as I've explained, our role is to assess the soundness of the plan that is before us. So our guidance note outlines the procedures to be followed at the hearing sessions, the way in which written representations are dealt with, and the availability of information. With regards to the procedure for the hearing sessions each day, they'll be in the form of a structured discussion, which we shall lead, and we'll quite simply be following, well, generally at least, the matters and issues paper that's already been circulated. We haven't produced any separate agendas or anything like that because, quite frankly, I like to keep things as simple as possible. As the hearings go along, we will invite people to speak at particular times, but if you do find that you are sat there desperately trying to get in on the discussion and unable to, please do sort of indicate, upend your nameplate, and we'll bring you in into the debate at an appropriate time. In terms of the programme then for these Phase 1 hearing sessions, we currently anticipate that the Phase 1 hearings will be completed by the end of next week. Hopefully, one never knows one's luck, by the close of play on Wednesday, the 18th of December. Does that seem a realistic, well, a challenging but realistic nonetheless prospect to everyone around the table? I'll take the silence as agreement that we can quite easily achieve all of that. Good. Well, it is quite a tight schedule, and we would ask that everyone focuses on the important things that you want to tell us. I mean, clearly, you know, we've read an awful lot here. We've read your statements, and we do understand by and large what people are saying. So please be concise and, frankly, get to the point is what we're asking. We do, which might help to focus minds, have a reserve day, which is Thursday next week. So if there is any discussion that remains incomplete, we will in the first instance look to continue that discussion on the reserve day. So please do be prepared to attend on the reserve day if it's necessary. Yeah. Brings to mind another point. The more observant amongst us might have noticed that there's a general election on at present. Now, there may be some of you here who are politically minded or indeed politicians of one sort or another. Now, we know we don't really need to remind you, but this isn't the place for making political points or for giving party political broadcasts. Does anyone do that these days? I don't know. But in any event, this is no place for electioneering. As we've already heard, each day of the hearings we will take a quite short mid-morning break and one again around mid-afternoon time with potentially a slightly more luxurious break for lunch. I think... Yeah, I should say actually that in the interests of openness and transparency, there are a few faces around the table today and scheduled for other days that are familiar to us. By and large, those are people that we have come across at previous examination hearings, exactly like this one, or, for example, I'll pick on Mr. Waring. I happen to know Mr. Waring from a previous life. We don't have any close friends or family around the table giving evidence today. So, you know, in short, none of that influences our impartiality in these proceedings. I think that's about probably all that. Well, frankly, I think that's enough from us. If we could now have brief introductions around the table, perhaps starting on the council side, please.
Good if I press the button first. So, my name's David Elvin, Queen's Counsel. I'm instructed on behalf of the City Council, and with me is Mr. Scott Linus, who is also instructed, will be representing the council between us over the Phase 1 hearings. Can I ask, then subsequent, would you like to introduce yourself?
Councillor Nigel Eyre, the Executive Member for Finance, Performance and Major Projects.
And I'm Mike Slater, I'm the Council's Chief Planning Officer.
Frances Harrison, Development Officer at the Council, supporting Mr Slater.
And behind us there are a team of up to 8 people who will be speaking from time to time, but I'll get them to introduce themselves as they come forward in due course.
Grateful for that. Sorry, I think, did you say it was Mrs Harrison? I can't, frankly, I can't see the nameplates at on the far table, just because my eyesight isn't good enough. But if everyone could undertake best endeavours so that I can see nameplates. I don't know if you have one there, Mrs.
I'm not intending on speaking, I'm just supporting Mr Slater with any questions he might have.
Craig Barnes-Gladman.
Tony Dennis, resident of the City of York.
Matthew Good, Pegasus Group, on behalf of all developments.
Peter Sheaf, York Cycle Campaign.
Andrew Bell, York resident.
Mary Cook, Town Legal, representing Langwith Development Partnership.
Tim Waring, representing the same.
Mark Johnson, Johnson Mowat, alongside my colleague Becky Lomas, representing Redrow and Taylor Wimpey.
George Wright, Chartered Town Planner, not resident of York as it says on my sign. Thank you.
Jennifer Hubbard, planning consultant. I've been involved in the York local plan for several decades.
Jeff Beacon, York resident, chair of the Pollution Tax Association, and I've been involved in York plans since 1972. That'll do.
Chris Atkinson, Barton Wilmore, representing Barrett and David Wilson Homes.
George Oldroyd, Banks Property, part of the Banks Group.
Melon Ash, Natural England.
Keith Marquis, representing Stencil with Towerthorpe Parish Council's Neighbourhood Plan Steering Group.
Ian Anderson, resident of York for many years. Sir, may I just make a plea that everybody puts the microphone as near as possible so that we can hear them? Thank you.
So can I just check, could you hear me all right during my opening?
Yes, thank you.
Steve Secker, representing the York and North Yorkshire Chamber of Commerce.
Eamon Keogh, O'Neill Associates, representing Galtraith Garden Village Development Company.
I'm Richard Clark. I'm representing the York Constituency Labour Party.
Tim Bewley, QC, Barrister at Landmark Chambers. I'm representing the Defence Infrastructure Organisation. I'm here with a team from Averson Young who may be speaking on other days, but I'll let them introduce themselves on the appropriate days. Thank you.
Morning everyone, Paul Butler from PB Planning here for TW Fields.
Michael Corsier, a resident representing Fulford and Hessington Parish Councils.
Laura Finn, Planning Consultant at Erdon, representing Mr Harrison, resident of York.
Okay, thank you all very much for that, and welcome to what we are certain is going to be the best day you have ever had at the races. Can I ask, I mean, hopefully people should be able to hear each other quite clearly because we do have microphones, but that having been said, nonetheless, move the microphones closer to you if you need to. Best theatre voices, please. If anyone is struggling to hear, then please do indicate, and I'll ask people to speak up. I am going to struggle a little bit, frankly, with names because I can't see the nameplates very well. So if I get your name wrong, or if I simply can't see it and I'm not quite sure how to address you, then please, I ask that you forgive me and help me out. Are there any questions then, before I move first of all to the opening statement from the council? Any questions on procedural points or anything like that? Mr. Beacon.
Thank you. I've a communication from the programme officers saying that I can't attend other sessions because I haven't mentioned housing market area, OAN or Greenbelt. I think there must be some mistake because I have it here in the submission I made, and it makes me worry that you haven't got all of my documents.
Okay, off the cuff, I can't answer that one. The principle is that if it's something that you've mentioned in your representation at Regulation 19 stage, then you do have the right to be heard on the points that you made. But I think perhaps maybe if we have a look at that during the morning adjournment. Anything else from anyone else? Okay. Okay. Right. In which case, thank you all very much. And if we move then to the opening statement from the council.
And so we're dividing this into two. Councillor Eyre is going to make a general statement to start with, and then I'll do a more formal opening when he's finished, if that's acceptable.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Inspector, and good morning, everyone. For those who do not know me, my name is Councillor Nigel Eyre, and I'm the Executive Member responsible for the development of the local plan at City of York Council. Firstly, on behalf of City of York Council, I would like to begin by welcoming the Inspectors, Simon Berkeley and Andrew McCormack, and members of the public here for attending this public examination. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the Programme Officer, Carol Crooks, for her management of the examination process and for carrying out the work behind the scenes to facilitate these hearings. National planning policy places local plans at the heart of the planning system, and it is essential that they are in place and kept up to date. The local plan will be used as a key mechanism for the Council to deliver its priorities set out in the Council plan, from delivering housing to promoting health and well-being and ensuring our city develops sustainably in light of the climate emergency. As many of you will already know, since 1999, this is the furthest stage the York local plan has reached, and everyone who has been involved in the development of the local plan should be proud that the plan, which has been designed and consulted on by the residents of York, is to be considered by the planning inspectors this week. The journey which the Council has taken to reach this stage has been a long one. The City of York has not had a local plan since the 1950s, and therefore it is crucial that York has a new local plan in place as soon as possible. The journey has also not been easy, and there have been tough decisions made at all levels, in cooperation with a wide range of authorities, local bodies and residents. The York local plan is a positive strategy, one which will successfully secure the delivery of sustainable community facilities, facilitate economic growth in the city, and crucially, build the homes that York needs, all whilst maintaining the special and historic character of the city. York is a special place to live, and many residents feel strongly connected to this wonderful city. The geography of our city means it is also a diverse city, and the local plan has been designed to be flexible enough to adapt to these differences. It is important to underline this plan will deliver over 20,000 homes over the next 20 years, with up to 4,000 more affordable homes to be included. This will also lead to the creation of around 650 new jobs per year. Evidence from the Council's advisors shows that the local plan robustly meets the city's needs after having taken into account new data on projected population growth and demographic changes in York. In the updated report, we see a figure of 790 dwellings per annum. This confirms to the Council that the 866 houses per annum in the submitted local plan can be shown to robustly meet future demand. However, the role of the plan is to balance the need for housing and employment growth with protecting York's unique natural and built environment. This is a key part of the site identification process and underpins the work undertaken to support the local plan. In order to maximise the amount of open land protected, this plan has prioritised development on brownfield land. By allocating land to accommodate new development for the next 20 years, the local plan can set permanent greenbelt boundaries for the city, something that has never formally been done before. In setting permanent greenbelt boundaries, elements of the open countryside which protect